I'm here with George Smith, the operations manager at AFN Europe. What was it like being a military broadcaster from 1974 to 1981, George?
I loved being a military broadcaster. The part that I loved about it the most was I loved my job. I went to work and I didn't resent 1 minute when I was there. And the other thing I liked about being a military broadcaster is it sent me to fun places that I would have never had a chance to visit if I were not in the military. Thailand, Germany, the United States, Korea. Military brought me to all those places.
Well, George, you decided to leave the military, you attended Ohio University, and then a few years later you came back to the military to work as a civilian. What was the reason that you left the military, and why did you decide to come back?
Well, when I was a military broadcast journalist, I loved it. I loved the places that military broadcasting took me. But there were some negatives. One of the biggest negatives to me was the military was always moving me every 2 or 3 years. In my case, I was single at the time, so I was getting moved every 2 years. When I was in Korea, I was getting moved just about every 6 months. So I was having a hard time meeting somebody. And I thought, well, George, someday you might want to get married, so why don't you put yourself into a position where you can meet somebody? That worked out. I came over as a civilian, and when I was here as a civilian, I did meet somebody, and I've been married now for 23 years. So that was the biggest reason I got out. Another reason was, frankly, that I found the civilians earned more than I did as a military broadcast journalist, and many times they were doing exactly what I did, except they didn't have to go out and fire their weapon, they didn't have to do PT tests. They were doing things that didn't have anything to do with being a military broadcast journalist, but they have a requirement as far as being a soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine. And I wanted to just focus on the broadcast side.
During your time, you interned for David Letterman, interviewed celebrities, won military awards for journalism, trained with CNN and TBS, written Hallmark cards, and you've also recently, in 2011, had an article published with Reader's Digest. How have these events helped shape who you are today?
Well, I've had a variety of experiences commercially and in the military and as a government civilian. But I think all these experiences together, they've come to really, in one way, be one thing for me, and that's to have fun. To me, all the different jobs that I've done, I realized that for my products to be the most interesting as possible, I need to have fun with them. I need to enjoy them. I need to laugh a little, share an interesting story or so. And when I enjoy it, when I think it's interesting, hopefully the audience or the people that are watching the TV show or listening to the radio program, they think it's interesting too. So have fun. That's the biggest thing that holds it all together.
So what does the future hold for George Smith and his family?
What does the future hold for George Smith and his family? I'm not sure. But one of the reasons I got into civil service was I really wanted some stability. I wanted to work in one place and get a family. I've got that. I've been living here in Germany now for 25 years. But something new has come along where they're saying that we as civilians need to leave and go back to the States. So in our case, what we're looking at is if we all go back to the States together, or I go back to the States and my family joins me later, and we travel back and forth to see each other. So it's an interesting time for the Smith family right now because we don't know exactly what we're going to do yet, but I do know I'm going to be working in military broadcast journalism either here in Germany or somewhere in the United States, either Maryland or California. The good news is I'll still be employed. That's good.
Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day, George, to do this interview. And there we go. That was the operations manager for AFN Europe, George Smith. Thanks for watching.